Just last week, Microsoft released the preview version for Copilot for Power Apps, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use it, some of the challenges I ran into with it, and why, despite these challenges, I believe this release is a significant first step in fundamentally changing how business applications are built. Towards the end of 2022, OpenAI made massive news by releasing ChatGPT, its conversational AI large language model that could take plain English inputs and give back pretty good responses on a wide range of questions and prompts. As you might be aware, Microsoft actually owns a significant portion of OpenAI and has been working for a while now to leverage the ChatGPT functionality within their line of business applications, including the Office suite, Outlook, and what we're focused on here, their low-code or no-code development solution, PowerApps. Before I get too much further into this video though, I do need to say that this feature is still in preview mode, and as such, I am sure that further enhancements and changes will be made between when I'm recording this and the general release sometime over the summer. If you're looking to try this out for yourself prior to the general release, there are a few hoops you need to jump through in order to enable this feature in your own environment. If you're interested, I'll link the steps needed down below in the video description. Once the preview was enabled, I simply navigated to the PowerApps homepage, where you'll notice that the Create App button on the top of the banner has been changed, and in its place is this new chat prompt that asks you to describe what you want your app to do. For a while now, I've been meaning to build an application to track the income and expense on a rental property I own, and this seemed like the perfect use case for my first trial of Copilot. So all I did was type in, I want my app to be able to collect income and expense records for my rental property, and hit go. A few seconds later, I was given a suggested table for my application, with 5 rows of sample data already filled in. This was pretty good, but there were some key fields missing, as well as some extras that I did not need. Fortunately, Copilot is also enabled for this step, and I was able to pretty easily request changes to the table using the chat prompt. For example, I wanted to create a new column for expense category, so I simply typed in, please make me a column called expense category as a choice field, which accepts the values of maintenance, insurance, mortgage, HOA, repairs, cleaning, and other. A couple seconds later, I got a new column in my table and additional sample data based on my desired choices filled in. Honestly, I was pleasantly surprised with how well this aspect of the Copilot experience was working, and I could absolutely see this being a useful tool for creating new Dataverse tables a little more easily than going through the existing Dataverse UI. There are a couple of issues I have with this though, such as not being able to leverage existing Dataverse tables in creating a new app, but I am confident that this will be fixed in the future, and I'll save my complaints for later on in this video. After I was happy with my table structure, I just needed to hit the Create App button and wait a couple of minutes for my app to be created. While this app is creating itself, I figured it'd be a good time to introduce myself and this channel. My name is Phil Karpovich, and I've been somehow involved in enterprise software development and implementations for nearly a decade now. During that time, I've become an avid fan of Microsoft's Power Platforms, and I'm constantly looking for new ways to use it in my work. Recently, I've decided to share my ideas with the world via YouTube. So if you'd like to see more videos like this every week, I'd highly recommend subscribing to my channel. After about 60 seconds of waiting, I had a brand new 2-page app created, which by itself is pretty cool. But this is only the tip of the iceberg so far on what Copilot's capable of. On the first page of the application, right smack in the center of the screen, you'll see the new Copilot component, which I think is pretty wild. In effect, it's ChatGPT, but has access to your own company's data stored in the Dataverse. I'll be doing a whole video on this component in the next couple of weeks, but for this app, I simply asked it what were my total HOA expenses for 22 and got back the correct answer a few seconds later. I was then able to ask further questions, drilling into my data, and continuing to get more correct answers back. Obviously, this demo is pretty straightforward, but I think it's really important to realize that this tool, in effect, allows for any user of the app to query data using plain English text. If nothing else, this has some pretty wild implications for people in the data analyst profession and might change how we interact with data going forward. The other page that was created is a pretty basic CRUD application that includes ways to search and view your records, on top of the standard record creation, updates, and delete functions you'd expect. There's nothing groundbreaking here, but it's nice that Copilot does a lot of the heavy lifting for you in setting these up. There are definitely a few things off here though, such as the date-only field having controls created for inputting time, or my amount field not being formatted as currency, even though that's how it's set up in the Dataverse table. But this is where the next Copilot feature really comes into play. Over on the right-hand side of the screen, Microsoft added a Copilot assistant for PowerApps, which works sort of as a chatbot for all of the PowerApps documentation. I think this is a massively helpful addition, as normally for any questions I'd have, I'd need to go out to Google and search through a couple of pages of documentation and various forms and user responses to get the answer I was looking for. I'm sure that for many of you watching, this all seems pretty cool, but it's hard to imagine what this means for your company or job. Sure, you can create a 2-page app and accompanying database with only a few lines of text, but for any seasoned Power Platform user, this will only save a few hours tops. And maybe you're envisioning how to use the Copilot component in an application to enable users to query data, but currently you can only connect it to a single table, and I won't yet trust it enough to put in front of end users and tell them it will always be correct. When we take a step back though, and think about the technology underlying what I just showed, instead of what it can do for us immediately, the importance of what Microsoft is doing here becomes clear. We now have, in a commercially available and affordable platform, the ability to use plain text to create tables and applications, as well as query our data. This means that the difficult part of getting the computer to understand what we're asking it to do has already been solved for, and all that's left is to continue to build out the functionality that will take our asks and turn them into usable code. For example, I raised a complaint earlier in this video about how I couldn't relate my Copilot created table to an already existing one. The issue here, however, is not that Copilot doesn't understand what I'm asking for, and it's pretty clear that it actually does when it gives me back the response saying, "Sorry, I can't help with this question, relationships are not supported." The issue instead is that Microsoft engineers had not yet built in logic that would take my command and turn it into the code that would define the relationship I'm looking for. It's a slight difference, but as the hard part's already done, I think it all but guarantees it's only a matter of when, not if, we're going to see more and more capabilities of Copilot for Power Apps rolled out. Overall, I think that these new Copilot features are pretty cool and can definitely see using them soon, but they're just the tip of the iceberg for what's coming with AI-driven development on the Microsoft platform. What do you think though? Is it just a flashy release trying to ride on the recent AI hype? Or is it the beginning of a paradigm shift that will have far-reaching but possibly unknown consequences? Or maybe the end results will be somewhere in the middle that don't quite live up to my overly hyped expectations of what's possible here, but isn't useless either. Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. At this point, I do need to ask of you a favor, and that's to share this video with anyone you think might find it interesting. More people seeing this certainly helps my channel out, as well as gives me the opportunity to create more content in the future. Thank you for your help with this, as well as taking the time to watch this video today. Until next time, keep on building.